Mhm. All right. Yeah. Hare Krishna, my dear devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we're hearing from chapter 20, entitled Conversation Between Maitreya and Vidura. Text number 1. Sonika Uvacha, Mahim Pratistam Adhyasya Shrote Swayambhuvo Manu Kanya Vatista Dwarani Margayavara Janmanam. Sri Sukha inquired, O Sutta Goswami, after the earth was again situated in its orbit, what did Swayambhuvamana do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The appearance of the Lord as the firstborn incarnation occurred during the time of Swayambhuvamana, whereas the present age is in the period of Vaivasvatamana. Each Manu's period lasts 72 times the cycle of 4 ages, and one cycle of ages equals 4,320,000 solar years. Thus, 4,320,000 times 72 solar years is the reign of one Manu. In each Manu's period, there are many changes in many ways, and there are 14 Manus within one day of Brahma. It is understood here that Manu creates scriptural regulations for the salvation of the conditioned souls who come to the material world for material enjoyment. The Lord is so kind that any soul who wants to enjoy in this material world is given full facility for enjoyment. And at the same time, he is shown the path of salvation. Sonika Rishi, therefore, inquired from Sutta Goswami, what did Swayambhuva do after the reinstatement of the Earth in its orbital situation? Jai Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yeah. Text 2. Shata, meaning Vidura, Mahabhagavata, Krishnas Yai Kantika Shrit, Yastat Yagya Jagra Jam Krishne Sapatyam Adhavan Iti. Sonika Rishi inquired about Vidura, who was a great devotee and friend of Lord Krishna, and who gave up the company of his elder brother because the latter, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. Okay, so purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The incident referred to here is that Vidura left the protection of his elder brother Dhritarashtra when traveling everywhere to sacred places and met Maitreya at Hardwar. Sonika Rishi here inquires about the topics of the conversation between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. Vidura's qualification was that he was not only a friend of the Lord, but also a great devotee. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. Therefore, Kshata, or Vidura, was unsatisfied with them, and he left the palace. As a devotee, Vidura showed, by example, that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. A devotee may be tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior toward the Lord or the Lord's devotees, the devotee. Here, the word Agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Very interesting. Okay, so the the Kauravas, or Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Well, same thing can happen to us today if we disobey the orders of Krishna. Uh, what are the instructions of Krishna? Well, it's pretty simple. Chant Hare Krishna and eat prasadam and hear regular lectures given by genuine devotees and go on Sankirtan and uh, uh, go to sleep early, wake up early, chant your rounds, 16 good rounds a day. There's so many nice things that we can do. And therefore, we will be successful in our lives. What's success? Success is going back to Godhead. So other things like wealth, beauty, fame, all that is not so important. Although, although even without trying to attain those things, they happen naturally for a devotee. So um, the incident referred to here is that Vidura left the protection of his elder brother Dhritarashtra, went traveling everywhere to sacred places, and met Maitreya at Haridwar. So why did Vidura leave the company of his brother? Well, because he realized his brother was in Maya. Sonaka Rishi inquired about Vidura, who was a great devotee and friend of Lord Krishna, and who gave up the company of his elder brother because the latter, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. Well, no one, people can play tricks to the desires of the Lord, but not for long. They will be punished for such tricks. Therefore, we should not attempt to play any tricks to the desires of the Lord. What's the desires of the Lord? Everyone should become Krishna conscious. And the simple way of doing that is by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Uh, Now, how can we recognize who's a devotee? Atak Shri Krishna Navadi Ambhavet Kayam Indriya. Well, the uh, the devotee gives up the association of non-devotees and associates with devotees. Then you know someone is a devotee. They give up the association of non-devotees. So if we understand that, then easily we become protected by the mercy of Krishna, and we can have a full lifetime of Krishna consciousness and easily go back to Godhead. But if we associate with non-devotees, now, what does that mean? Associate. There is, the opportunity, the practical thing about having a job and working with non-devotees, but we don't necessarily associate with those non-devotees. We don't sit down and watch them eat meat. We don't go to their parties. We don't, have anything to do socially with those workers. Um, However, we can work side by side with non-devotees, but that's only because of a necessity to earn a living. However, we can give prasadam to those non-devotee workers, and we can give them some information about who Krishna is, and they can uh, see that we follow certain rules and regulations very strictly. That's to their benefit. And our benefit is that we don't violate the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. So it says, now, why did Vidura leave the protection of his elder brother Dhritarashtra? Well, we realized that Dhritarashtra had more or less gone crazy. When I mean crazy, he uh, was willing to uh, not follow the desires of Lord Krishna. That means someone has gone crazy. So, purport. The incident referred to here is that Vidura left the protection of his elder brother Dhritarashtra, went traveling everywhere to sacred places, and met Maitreya at Hardwar. Sonat Rishi here inquires about the topics of the conversation between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. Vidura's qualification was that he was not only a friend of the Lord, but also a great devotee. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. Therefore, Chata or Vidura was unsatisfied with them and he left the palace. As a devotee, Vidura showed by example that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. A devotee may be tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior toward the Lord or the Lord's devotee. Here, the word agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful in disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Well, this can happen to anyone. Anyone who disobeys the instructions of Krishna will be a loser. And there are a lot of losers in the world today. They don't pay any attention to Krishna. Now, there is a little difference between someone who knows Krishna and does not pay attention to Krishna's instructions, and someone who doesn't have any knowledge of Krishna and who is also unwittingly uh, not following the instructions of Krishna. So there's some, let's say, uh, there's some mercy for those who are ignorant. And that's why devotees preach. They try and help everyone become devotees. However, if someone has knowledge of Krishna but purposely uh, avoids following those instructions, then they become a loser. And that's the case of Dhritarashtra's sons. And it says here Dhritarashtra's sons lost the war because of being sinful in disobeying the instructions of Krishna. So that's called uh, uh, sinful, disobeying the instructions of Krishna. What are those the instructions? Well, you have four things not to do, and four things you should do. The four things we should never do is meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. And you can add to that not following the rules and regulations in general of Krishna consciousness. And what should we do? We should regularly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, at least 16 good rounds every day, and have nice prasadam and hear lectures given by genuine devotees, and go and Sankirtan and preach and spread the gospel of Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada did. And look what he achieved, worldwide movement. Okay, so So the last sentence here says, here the word agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Wow, that's a big statement. We see there are wars going on now. You know, the war on the uh, well, there are wars going on all over the place in the world. Uh, the Ukrainians uh, and their uh, adversaries. Uh, so, is anybody listening uh, and obeying the instructions of Krishna? No, they're not. They're just fighting for territory, for land, and for uh, their way of sense gratification. Prabhupada said once that all wars are fought for sense gratification. So the Ukrainians have their way of sense gratification, and the others have their way of sense gratification, and they're fighting each other to see whose way of sense gratification will prevail. So uh, this is basically nonsense. Uh, actually, let's see if you can find that statement. Prabhupada says that the wars are fought for sense gratification. See if you can find that statement. Okay, Dhritarashtra's sons lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. So there's always wars going on in the world. So uh, if people follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, although it may look like they're going to lose the war, they will become victorious in the end because of their staunch following of Krishna consciousness. So here it says, when Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. So Cheta or Vidura was unsatisfied with them, and he left the palace. As a devotee, Vidura showed by example that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. A devotee may be tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior toward the Lord or the Lord's devotee. Here, the word Agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Well, we should take this as a warning to us also, that we should very strictly follow the instructions of Krishna, chanting our rounds, waking up early, bathing regularly, and hearing the Vedic literature, and so forth, if we want to be, let's say, protected by Krishna. Now, in the last verse of the previous canto, 3, chapter 19, verse 38, in the purport, it says, devotees are generally attracted by the narratives of the pastimes of the Lord. And even though they do not prosecute austerities or meditation, this very process of hearing attentively about the pastimes of the Lord will endow them with innumerable benefits, such as wealth, fame, longevity, and other desirable aims of life. If one continues to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narratives of the pastimes of the Lord, At the end of this life, one is sure to be transferred to the eternal, transcendental abode of the Lord. Thus, hearers are benefited both ultimately and for as long as they are in the material world. That is the supreme, sublime result of engaging in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to spare some time and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended 5 items of devotional service, namely to serve the devotees of the Lord, to chant Hare Krishna, Mahamantra, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to worship the deity of the Lord, and to live in a place of pilgrimage. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. Well, there it is, the explanation of what is the real purpose of Krishna consciousness, to give a chance for everyone to engage in devotional service and hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source. Okay, and then Lord Chaitanya is recommending 5 things, or 5 items of devotional service. Serve the devotees of the Lord. 1. Chant Hare Krishna. 2. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 3. Worship the deity of the Lord. 4. And live in a place of pilgrimage. 5. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. So someone might say, well, I understood 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5, which says to live in a place of pilgrimage. Well, that means I would have to move to India. Not really. Anywhere where there's a sangha of devotees and they're regularly practicing Krishna consciousness, that is a holy place. And it's a holy place that's worth, or that merits having a pilgrimage there, because there are deities, temple, and there's regular hearing and chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So, just 5 things recommended for performing devotional service. 1, serve the devotees of the Lord. 2, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. 3, hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 4, worship the deity of the Lord. 5, to live in a place of pilgrimage. Well, we are doing these things, these 5 things. We definitely chant Hare Krishna. We definitely hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day. We worship the deity of the Lord. Yeah, when we go to the temple, we worship the deity of the Lord. Or you have your own deity of the Lord at home and at worshiping. Live in a place of pilgrimage, well, any place where the holy names of the Lord are being chanted, and there's regular classes, and there's Sankirtan and so forth. It is like a place of pilgrimage. Okay, so by doing these 5 things, that is, serve devotees, chant Hare Krishna, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, worship the deity of the Lord, and live in a place of pilgrimage. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. Haribol. That was the last verse of the previous chapter, Canto 3, Chapter 19, Text 38. Okay, so now we are reading Canto 3, Chapter 20, Text 2. Okay, so in this purport, so we see that Vidura gives up the company of his elder brother. Why? Because his elder brother, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. In other words, they pretended to be devotees of the Lord, but they didn't listen to the Lord's instructions. So that's called playing a trick. They they seem to be friends of the Lord, but they don't follow the instructions. This is a very important point because someone can seem to be a devotee of Krishna consciousness, but if they don't follow the instructions, then they're a trickster. And what happens to the tricksters? They become failures in spiritual life. So also in this purport of text 2, it says, Vidura's qualification was that he was not only a friend of the Lord, but also a great devotee. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. Therefore, Vidura, or Chata, which is another name of Vidura, was unsatisfied with them and he left the palace. Well, we should not stay in any place where people are purposely refusing to follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. That's not a place fit to live or to associate with people like that. That's why Vidura gives up the company of his elder brother, because his elder brother and his sons, the elder brother's sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. Well, we're not meant to play tricks. We're meant to follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness. So it says here, Vidura's qualification was that he was not only a friend of the Lord, but also a great devotee. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. In other words, his instructions. Therefore, Kshata, or Vidura, was unsatisfied with them and he left the palace. Well, that's what we should do also. If we're in a place where people are not following Krishna's instructions, we should be also unsatisfied or dissatisfied with their behavior and leave that place. As a devotee, Vidura showed by example that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. A devotee may be tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior toward the Lord or the Lord's devotee. Here, the word Agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful in disobeying the instructions of Krishna.
I found a few references for Srila Prabhupada quoting that the wars happened due to sense gratification.
Okay.
So this is actually in Bhagavad Gita introduction itself. Everyone is lusting for sense gratification, and everyone's lust is the cause of world's relentlessness, restlessness, and war. That's one. And then Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 27. The entire world is full of wars because there is general want of God consciousness and there is
Lack of God
yeah,
consciousness, yeah.
lack of God consciousness, and sense gratification is the center of all activities.
Right.
And then finally, in Nectar of Instruction, verse 1, if one wants to make progress in spiritual life, he must control his mind and senses. One who is able to control the mind and senses can make considerable progress in spiritual life. But if one indulges in sense gratification, wars and conflicts result.
Wow. That's a great statement. Wars and conflicts happen when people don't follow the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. Right? Is that
Yes.
what it says?
If one indulges in sense gratification, wars and conflicts result.
Yeah. Well, let's see. How many bars are there in Seattle where people go to drink liquor and do all kinds of nonsense? There's a lot of them, right? And they're all doing well, good business. I don't see any of them closing. And then you have, uh, the gambling houses where there's liquor and there's prostitutes. So there's a lot of bad things going on in Seattle area, and I guess all over the world. But fools run in where angels fear to tread. So this is a good proverb. Fools run in where angels fear to tread. Look that one up. So they're running into the brothels, they're running into the bars, they're running into places where the four regulative principles are broken, and so therefore, it's like moths or uh, flies. They're flying into the fire. When a moth or a fly flies too close to the fire, it burns their wings, and then they fall down into the fire and they're killed. So in the same way, the people that go into the bars and the brothels and so forth. Uh, yeah, one time, let's see, there was a devotee who was a gung ho Prabhupada devotee, always talking about Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. So one day I was watching this show on television about a new casino that was opening in Seattle. It's called the Taj Mahal, and it cost $2 billion to build. So I don't know why I was looking at it, but then they showed a picture of someone. First of all, they said you have to be an idiot to go into this Taj Mahal casino because uh, $2 billion is a lot of money, right? So they're spending all this money, basically wasting money, making these uh, houses of gambling. And the way they're doing that is because they're all the idiots are going into these casinos and losing their money. Otherwise, how can they build a $2 million? Was it million or no?
2 billion.
$2 billion casino. That's a lot of money. That just means that a lot of people are losing money going into the casino. So, I wasn't so interested in that, so I was gonna, turn it off. And then, oh my God! Then I saw they were showing a photo, not a photo, but they were showing the picture of a person in that casino, and it was a devotee. I couldn't believe it, and there was a prostitute uh, watching him gamble. She had her, arm on his shoulder, and she had a glass of champagne in one hand and one arm on his shoulder, and so I had to go really close to the television and look at it more carefully and make sure it was him, and it was a devotee. So fast forward some months later, I asked this devotee. I said, "How's everything going?" He said, "Oh, great." I said, "You ever go, uh, uh, you know, set up your table like near a casino?" The Taj Mahal casino. He said, "Yeah, how do you know?" I said, "I don't know. I'm just asking you a question." I said, do you ever like go into the casino? Yeah, he said, sometimes I go and use the bathroom. I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Do you ever gamble?" He said, "No, no, no, I wouldn't do a thing like that." So And I said, but I saw there was a television program about the casino. And I saw you sitting down and gambling, and there was some prostitute next to you. He said, oh, yeah, that's right. Well, no, I mean, it's because I'm so handsome. They asked me to sit down. They gave me these chips, and they asked me to sit down. And this lady should stand next to me so that they could, uh, uh, take, film me uh, to to inspire other people to come to the casino. Of course, all that is a lie. He was in the casino. He's gambling, and there's a prostitute with her arm on his shoulder. So let's put it like this: no one can hide anything. No one can hide anything. Eventually, the truth prevails or becomes known. So, uh, should we go to a casino? No. Why? Because they break the four regulative principles in the casino. Gambling, meat eating, intoxication, you know, and so forth. So why would anyone want to go into a casino? Well, I asked him. I said, when some time later, after I saw that television, uh, I saw him. I asked him. I said, "You ever do Sankirtan near the Taj Mahal, casino?" And he said, "Yeah, Sankirtan's really good there, and I set up a table, and I sell books there." I said, "Really?" I said, "Do you ever go into the casino?" He said, "Sometimes I go in to use the bathroom." So then I said, "Yeah, but I saw this program about that casino, and they showed a picture of you sitting down gambling with a prostitute, had her arm on your shoulder." Said, "Oh, yeah. Well, that's because I'm a really handsome guy. So they asked me to just sit there and look like I'm gambling." So you can't hide anything. Right? He thought, well, no one will ever see this, but they showed it on the television. So we have to be very, very careful not to, in any way, uh, do what's the following uh, proverb is: fools run in where angels fear to tread. So fools run into that uh, casino. I mean, there are a lot of people going to these casinos all over the Seattle area. There are a lot of casinos, not just two or three big ones, which there are. There are also small ones also. And people are going in and losing their money, and the casinos are getting bigger and bigger. So fools run in where angels fear to tread. Look that proverb, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Russian. Okay. Yeah.
It's a well-known proverb that means inexperienced or rash people often attempt things that wiser and more experienced people avoid.
Okay.
It highlights the idea that caution and wisdom often prevent knowledgeable individuals from engaging in risky or ill-considered actions, while those who lack understanding or foresight may rush into situations without considering the potential consequences.
Yeah. Well, you got to be an idiot to go into a casino because that's the place where the four regulative principles are going to be broken very quickly. Yeah.
And he knew that it was going to be a video or whatever.
He didn't know. He didn't realize that he didn't realize that it was going to be a video.
So apparently that's from a poem, Alexander Pope's poem, an essay on criticism.
Fools run in where angels fear to tread.
Who's Russian.
Russian. Yeah.
He wrote it when 22 years old.
What's that?
When he was 22 years old, he wrote this.
Oh, okay. The poet.
Yeah, his name is Pope, Alexander Pope.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're on what, verse 3? Okay. Vidura was born from the body of Vedavyasa and was not less than he. Thus he accepted the lotus feet of Krishna wholeheartedly and was attached to his devotees. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The history of Vidura is that he was born of a Sudra mother, but his seminal father was Vyasadeva. Thus he was not less than Vyasadeva in any respect, since he was born of a great father who was supposed to be an incarnation of Narayana and who composed all the Vedic literatures. Vidura was also a great personality. He accepted Krishna as his worshipable Lord and followed his instructions wholeheartedly. Okay, so even though he's born of a Sudra mother, but his father was Vyasadeva, so he was not less than Vyasadeva in any respect.
So by the time Mahabharata was there itself, this whole by birth categorization of Shudra versus Kshatriya has been going on, right, Maharaj?
Yeah, it's been going on for a long time.
So even while Krishna was here,
Yes, yes.
I thought it's only a degradation for Kali Yuga.
Well, uh, well, this history is 5,000 years old, but that's the beginning of Kali Yuga. So it started in these type of things started in Kali Yuga. So Vidura, this history of Vidura, uh, Vyasadeva, and so forth is 5,000 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, but see, Vidura says he accepted Krishna as his worshipable Lord and followed his instructions wholeheartedly. So it doesn't matter what your birth is and what your family is. If you accept Krishna as your worshipable Lord and follow his instructions wholeheartedly, you are a devotee. So that should be our goal in life, to accept Krishna uh, as our worshipful Lord and follow his instructions wholeheartedly. Then we'll be successful in life and go back to Godhead. Okay, so next verse, text number 4. Vidura was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places, and at last he reached Haridwar, where he met the great sage who knew the science of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Sonaka Rishi therefore asked, what more did Vidura inquire from Maitreya? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Here the words Virajas Tirtha Sevaya refer to Vidura, who was completely cleansed of all contamination by traveling to places of pilgrimage. In India, there are hundreds of sacred places of pilgrimage, of which Prayaga, Hardwar, Vrindavana, and Rameshwaram are considered principal. After leaving his home, which was full of politics and diplomacy, Vidura wanted to purify himself by traveling to all those sacred places, which are so situated that anyone who goes there automatically becomes purified. This is especially true in Vrindavana. Any person may go there, and even if he is sinful, he will at once contract an atmosphere of spiritual life and will automatically chant the names of Krishna and Radha. That we have actually seen and experienced. It is recommended in the Shastras that after retiring from active life and accepting the Vanaprastha retired order, one should travel everywhere to places of pilgrimage in order to purify himself. Vidura completely discharged this duty, and at last he reached Kusavarta or Haridwar, where the sage Maitreya was sitting. Another significant point is that one must go to sacred places not only to take bath, but to search out great sages like Maitreya and take instructions from them. If one does not do so, his traveling to places of pilgrimage is simply a waste of time. Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Vaishnava sect, has, for the present, forbidden us to go to such places of pilgrimage, because in this age, the times having so changed, a sincere person may have a different impression on seeing the behavior of the present residents of the pilgrimage sites. He has recommended that instead of taking the trouble to travel to such places, one should concentrate his mind on Govinda, and that will help him. Of course, to concentrate one's mind on Govinda in any place is a path meant for those who are the most spiritually advanced. It is not for ordinary persons. Ordinary persons may still derive benefit from traveling to holy places like Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, and Haridwar. It is recommended in this verse that one find a person who knows the science of God, or a tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. There are many pseudo-transcendentalists, that means false transcendentalists, even at places of pilgrimage. Such men are always present, and one has to be intelligent enough to find the actual person to be consulted. Then one's attempt to progress by traveling to different holy places will be successful. One has to be freed from all contamination, and at the same time, he has to find a person who knows the science of Krishna. Krishna helps a sincere person. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Prasade, by the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one attains the path of salvation, devotional service. If one sincerely searches for spiritual salvation, then Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, gives him the intelligence to find a suitable spiritual master. By the grace of a spiritual master like Maitreya, one gets the proper instruction and advances in his spiritual life. So, what's interesting here is it says that Narottam Das Thakur has forbidden us to go to such places of pilgrimage, because in this age, the time having so changed, a sincere person may have a different impression on seeing the behavior of the present residents of the pilgrimage sites. He has recommended that instead of taking the trouble to travel to such places, one should concentrate his mind on Govinda, and that will help. Okay, now, what is he saying here? Basically, he's saying, better not to go to the holy places, because many of the inhabitants of these holy places are not actually following Krishna consciousness. Now, let's see. No, I remember one time I went to Vrindavan, and I was going to bathe, and in the river there, and there were a couple people there, and they were smoking marijuana. They asked me, if I would want to smoke some marijuana with them. And I said, no, I'm not interested in this. Thank you very much. But that was right in Vrindavan. And they were, I don't think they were ISKCON devotees, but they were people that lived there. And they were smoking marijuana. So, yeah, even the holy places nowadays, you can get contaminated. And even in Vrindavan, there are prostitutes, even in Vrindavan. And of course, there's Muslims there too. They're sort of hidden a little bit, but there are Muslims in Vrindavan. And they have butcher shops also in Vrindavan, but they are only in the Muslim area. So there's a small Muslim area in Vrindavan. So you can go to Vrindavan and get completely contaminated if you associate with the wrong people there. So you have to be very careful. I was surprised when I saw that there were Muslims, and there are not many, but there's a Muslim part of Vrindavan, and you could see that there were meat shops there, and in other places in Vrindavan, they're prostitutes. So obviously, they are customers for. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. Why don't you look that up? See if it says that there are prostitutes in Vrindavan and that there are meat shops opened by Muslims in Vrindavan. So it's possible you could go to Vrindavan and get completely contaminated. And the verse today says that Vidura was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places. And at last he reached Haridwar, where he met the great sage who knew the science of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Sonaka Rishi therefore asked, what more did Vidura inquire from Maitreya? So you should expect to meet holy persons in holy places. But there are unholy people in holy places also. Does it say anything?
Even there is no specific confirmation, but it says, nevertheless, it is possible that some meat shops exist to cater to the dietary preferences of all residents, including non-Hindus and visitors who consume meat.
I definitely saw meat shops in Vrindavan, but it was in the Muslim area.
Uttar Pradesh government has declared 10 square kilometer area of Mathura Vrindavan as pilgrimage site. No sale of liquor and meat will be allowed in this area. 10 square kilometers.
What date is that from?
3 days ago.
Oh yeah? All right. So it's something new, because when I went there one time, I wasn't walking, but I think I was in a bus or something, or a taxi. I definitely saw an area where there was meat openly. It was a shop, like a normal shop. Oh, really?
Mayapur, if you come out of our campus,
Yeah.
right, and then you're going to places
Yeah.
to see other places of Mahaprabhu's pastimes.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of Muslims, and then there are meat shops.
Right.
In Mayapur, there are.
There was in Vrindavan at one time. If they stopped it, I'm glad.
But this is just 10
10 square
kilometer,
kilometers.
10 square kilometer area only. It's not like full Vrindavan or full.
Is meat allowed in Vrindavan? Means eggs, meat, and fish is not sold there. Vrindavan and Mathura are predominantly vegetarian cities, deeply rooted in Hindu culture and beliefs. So when we went to Vrindavan, right, Maharaj, we met one brahmachari. He took us around. He told us that in Mathura there are a lot of meat shops.
Yeah, a lot of Muslims in Mathura.
Not Mathura, because Kamsa used to live there, and from beginning it was like that. And but in Vrindavan, mostly, at least the heart of Vrindavan, there is no consumption alcohol.
So no liquor and no meat after yogi rule.
After what?
Yogi is the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yogi Adi.
Yeah, okay.
Their staff. So after he started rule, there is no meat and alcohol.
Good. I'm glad you did that.
So
I definitely saw a meat shop in Vrindavan when I went there. But it was just in the Muslim area. Yeah. So you have Muslims in Vrindavan. It's not just all devotees. Okay.
This ban was introduced in 2021.
Oh, good. Good. Okay.
it's Google and justdial.com has a page, best non-veg thali restaurants in Vrindavan.
Wow. How many are there?
Oh, it's a full page.
Wow.
Moti Mahal Deluxe, Grills of Punjab.
Grills of Punjab. What are they grilling?
Gagga Chicken Darbar,
Oh my God.
Majid Restaurant, the Mast Kalandar.
That's in Vrindavan.
Yeah, these are all Muslim
Muslims.
names, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They're the Urdu names.
Mm-hmm.
So there are houses of meat in
There
Vrindavan.
should be, Maharaj, because there's so many restaurants already there. So
Because Vrindavan is very huge. Right now. 10 square kilometers is very less.
Yeah.
Not a lot. They just preserve probably the places of past times. But after that, they don't.
Okay. I hope not. All right, I think we'll stop there because it's 7:31. Are there any questions, comments? No, it says, yeah, go ahead.
In Tirumala, right, Maharaj, on the top of the hills,
Yeah,
there also liquor and meat is not.
all right.
But once people just get down the hill,
To the town.
yeah, the moment
They
they
drive- they
directly
drive
go to
from
the
there.
hill, they drive to a restaurant, non-vegetarian restaurant, and they drink.
Oh, the people, I mean,
go-
pilgrims are going into
Yeah.
this? Wow.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
They can't live without it.
It is 3 days of abstinence.
Yeah,
exactly. They have to.
it's too much.
Darshan, and then on the way back, as soon as they get down the hill,
Yeah,
they will go into the shop.
wow. That's terrible. Something's wrong in India. It's going to hell. Well, anyway, good thing we have Krishna consciousness in India. All right, so I think we'll stop there. But this verse says that, oh, let's see, did we do verse 4? No, we did?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he completed 4.
Yeah. Vidura was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places. And at last he reached Haridwar, where he met the great sage who knew the science of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Sanaka Rishi therefore asked, what more did Vidura inquire from Maitreya? So this is why we go to holy places. It's not just, to take a bath in the river. It's to meet genuine sadhus. Now there are sadhus that smoke ganja in holy places also, and one time I went to Vrindavan, and there were a group of French devotees, and they recognized that I was there. So they all shouted out my name, and they invited me to come up. They were up on top of a hill or something, and they were all smoking marijuana. So I didn't go up there. But you see, unfortunately, there are, even in holy places, people dare to engage in illicit activities. You know, it's terrible. And they're going to suffer terribly for doing that. Okay, so any other questions? If not, then we will stop and continue tonight. Look at it.
Narottam Thakura is saying, don't go to the pilgrimage site place if you are unable to meet a great sage and ask questions.
Yes. One must go to sacred places not only to take bath there, but to search out great sages like Maitreya and take instructions from them. If one does not do so, his traveling to places of pilgrimage is simply a waste of time. Narottam Das Thakur, great Acharya of the Vaishnava sect, has for the present forbidden us to go to such places of pilgrimage because in this age, the times having so changed, a sincere person may have a different impression on seeing the behavior of the present residents of the pilgrimage sites. He has recommended that instead of taking the trouble to travel to such places, one should concentrate his mind on Govinda, and that will help him. Of course, to concentrate one's mind on Govinda in any place is the path meant for those who are the most spiritually advanced. It's not for ordinary people. Ordinary persons may still derive benefit from traveling to holy places like Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavana, and Ardha. It is recommended in this verse that one find a person who knows the science of God or Tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. There are many pseudo-transcendentalists, even at places of pilgrimage. Such men are always present, and one has to be intelligent enough to find the actual person to be consulted. Then one's attempt to progress by traveling to different holy places will be successful. One has to be freed from all contamination, and at the same time, he has to find a person who knows the science of Krishna. Krishna helps a sincere person, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Guru Krishna Prasade. By the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one attains the path of salvation, devotional service. If one sincerely searches for spiritual salvation, then Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, gives him the intelligence to find a suitable spiritual master. By the grace of a spiritual master like Maitreya, one gets the proper instruction and advances in his spiritual life. Hari Bol. What would we do without Prabhupada's purports? I don't know. I think we would be lost. Just reading verses, we would not be able to understand what's going on. Yes.
So Maharaj, earlier we used to do exactly same, going to pilgrimage places and
Pilgrimage.
taking bath, like in Ganges or in
Right.
Yamuna. And
Right. Well, there's some benefit in doing that.
never
Not to hear. Yeah.
exactly what Prabhupada has written.
Yeah.
So there is a question. Can we reside in Dham? Obviously, Guru should grant permission, but is there any other prerequisite if Guru has granted permission?
What? Well, it's not recommended to reside in the Dham. It's recommended to go and visit the Dham, but not to reside there. If you're going to reside in a holy place, then you have to be very, very careful, because when you go to a holy place and perform devotional service, you get 1,000 times more benefit than doing that anywhere else. But the opposite is true also. If you go to a holy place and commit sinful activities, the reaction is 1,000 times worse than if you do the same thing outside. So you have to be very careful. If you're going to live in a holy place, you have to be very, very careful not to commit any sinful activity. Because the benefit is, thousands of times greater, and the effect of sinful activity is thousands of times greater.
Hmm.
So there are people, even devotees, that smoke marijuana in holy places. That's not good at all. And there are local residents in those places that smoke marijuana and even do worse things. And like I said, there are prostitutes also, and there are meat shops also. Horrible things in these holy places. Okay, so I think we'll stop there. We'll stop with the meat shops. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Great.
See how nice Prabhupada is. He breaks everything down and gives us the actual, most important information.
Some more detail on that. So, you said any place can be dham, right? And wherever we have a pure devotee and we can get the instruction.
Yes, yes, yeah. Anywhere where there's regular hearing and chanting about the glories of the Lord. You can be in hell, but if that hearing and chanting is going on, you are in transcendental bliss, even in hell. Well, the material world today, almost everywhere is hell. So therefore, just continue chanting and practicing Krishna consciousness. We can turn any place into a holy dham. Haribol.
One more question now. So in this purport, many times the word is coming sincere person. So sincerity, if you can like explain, like those are following the rules and regulation, those are like not even Krishna conscious, but they are sincere in their dealings. Like what is
I
sincere?
mean, sincere in smoking marijuana. This is an act of devotion. No, sincere means that you hear the shastras and then follow them sincerely, genuinely. That's what it means. You can't be sincere if you're breaking rules and regulations. But you're sincere if you hear shastra and you follow. And that's what a lot of people do. What's nice, you go to Vrindavan, you see so many people chanting their rounds there, and sometimes some people are chanting, not 16, but they're doing 32, 64, and they're real serious because it's a holy dham. And it's very nice to see that. And there's parikrama, and there's, especially when it's nighttime, every temple is lit up, so many temples and people chanting. So it's a very nice atmosphere for Krishna consciousness. But if you're, looking for nonsense, you'll find that also in Vrindavan, unfortunately. So you have to be very careful. Haribol.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll see you again. Hare Krishna.